Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome to today's video. So today we're going to talk about self-talk. What is self-talk? Why is it important? And what can we do about self-talk? How can we impact it positively? So, first of all, what is self-talk? Self-talk, it is not just talking to yourself. It includes that, but it's not only that. It's not only speaking out loud to yourself as if you were another person having a dialogue, but it's also that internal dialogue or monologue of thoughts, habitual thoughts that are narrating our lives. Maybe we're imagining the future or we're remembering the past, and that can happen in the form of an internal mental vision of what happened or what could happen, but it's often accompanied by a voice, a narration, a story being told. And sometimes that story can be told in a voice that sounds like our own voice. It feels even like it's us. It's, oh, I'm actually thinking this and I'm talking about this and I'm expressing my true feelings about this, but maybe it's not. That's the invitation of today's video. Maybe the thoughts that are occurring to you are not your true voice. If you've ever had that idea, then the rest of the video, I think, will be very useful for you. So that's what self-talk is. It's the internal monologue that happens or the external monologue that could be happening as well. Doesn't matter whether it's inner or outer. Why is it important is the next question. Why should we care about this? Well, the self-talk that we engage in leads to the feelings that we habitually feel. If we are often thinking thoughts of doubt and fear and anxiety, then we're probably also usually feeling doubt, uncertainty, fear, anxiety, etc. The narration, the story that's being told leads to the feeling that comes up in the body, the felt experience. And then that felt experience in turn is then described and narrated by more self-talk. So it's not that one starts the other, but rather that they're in a continuous feedback loop. And what we want to do is notice that loop. Okay, so now we're getting into the third step. What can we do about self-talk? What can we do to impact it positively? First of all, becoming aware of the self-talk when it's happening in the moment, or at least in hindsight. If we can look back and see, oh wow, yeah, all day yesterday or all day this earlier this morning, I was just talking to myself so negatively. Just being aware of the fact that it was happening or that it is happening in the moment is a good start. How can you increase that awareness? If you're one of the people who speak out loud, then you're probably aware of the fact that you're doing it. Probably because it's out loud, you can actually hear it. And if there's anyone near you, they probably brought it to your attention. But if the self-talk is happening internally, then maybe it's a little more subtle. It could take some more practice to notice when it's happening. And key, noticing what the content of those thoughts is. So practicing mindfulness, journaling, things like that can help us become more aware of the self-talk that's going on and can help us identify what are those messages, what is that narration, what's the story being told that's then leading to the feelings, that's then leading to more stories, that's creating that feedback loop. So what is the self-talk? Why is it important? What can we do? Yeah, become aware of it. Once you become aware of the self-talk that is happening, then there is a choice point. Do I want to believe this thought? Or do I want to doubt this thought? Do I want to continue to feel the way this thought is making me feel? Or do I want to feel something different? and think something different about my life and about who I am. If you're coming to this kind of a video, it's probably likely that you've been experiencing some negative self-talk, and maybe you're wanting to reorient your thinking patterns towards more positive self-talk, right? So if you're having some thoughts and you are habitually believing them and you're wanting to not believe them, maybe it's not so easy to just go from believing to not believing. So here's where you can use a tool of intelligent doubt. Just sprinkle the seeds of a little bit of doubt. Maybe I don't have to think this thought. Maybe this isn't completely true. Maybe this thought might be an exaggeration. Saying things like that to yourself. And not just saying it, but feeling the willingness to believe differently. Feeling the willingness to have a different thought process. That's good enough to start. Of course, you just want to redirect it completely and have a completely different way of thinking and feeling. But you have to go slowly with these things, because the negative, well, not just negative, but thought patterns have their own momentum. Through so much repetition over and over and over, it can feel like it's happening on its own, because it is happening on its own. When we get into a negative thought spiral, you can feel how one thought easily leads to the next thought, and the next one, 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 and it's just kind of like, wow. But on the other hand, with a positive thought spiral, thinking one positive thought, if you've been in the habit of having negative thoughts, it's going to take a little bit of effort and focus to create that initial thought. And then, maybe not immediately, but then eventually, another thought will occur. And then another thought, and then another thought, and then another thought. Maybe not with the same kind of intensity that the negative thought spiral happens, with all that momentum that it's gained over years, who knows how long, of repetition. But slowly and gently at first, creating some positive momentum in the direction that we want to go. Thinking thoughts, using qualifiers like maybe, it seems like, it could be, things like that. Very gently introducing a different way of thinking, sowing seeds of doubt about the negative thoughts. Because when the negative thoughts are happening, they have so much of a sense of certainty and urgency. Like, it's so real, and it's so precise, and it's so true. But if we can just introduce a little bit of, I'm not completely sure about this, I'm not 100% in agreement with this, or at least the willingness, I'm not wanting to believe this, maybe something else is possible. Just saying something like that, even if you don't fully feel it in your system, just saying the words, I am willing to have a different thought process about this, no matter what it is. Just having that willingness and expressing it out loud. Here's where I would encourage you to speak it out loud, whether you're the type of person who has that external self-talk or that internal self-talk, it doesn't matter. But there's a difference. When you speak it out loud, your whole body is involved. Your vocal cords are vibrating. There's air moving out of your lungs through your face. There's sound vibrations going into the atmosphere. Okay, there's emotional energy being expressed, not just brain waves, not just thoughts that are happening internally, which also have their impact, right? But when you're wanting to make a positive change, I really would encourage you to speak it out loud. And even if you're using journaling as a tool, which is very, very useful, because thoughts and even words, they're kind of like, they're intangible. You can't grab it, right? You can't really see it. You can perceive it, but it's subtle to perceive. when you write things down, it's a little easier to externalize it, to see it in front of you, to kind of look at it that way. So, if you're working with journaling, journal intentionally. Notice what your habitual thought patterns have been according to what you've been journaling, and then take some time, maybe a fresh page, maybe a completely new journal that's dedicated for positive self talk, for directed thoughts, and write in there intentional thoughts, intentional uh, willingnesses to have a different thought pattern. I am willing to think differently about my life. I'm willing to be open to pleasant surprises. Whatever would be applicable to your situation. So I hope this has been helpful. And I'm genuinely curious about what your situation is. So, for example, that last exercise that I described, how would that apply to you? What kinds of thoughts do you habitually notice? What kinds of self talk do you engage in? Is it more internal? Is it more external? Do you speak out loud to yourself? What kind of things are you saying? What kind of things would you rather be saying? All of that would be super interesting for me to hear. Leave it in the comment section. If you like this video, of course, like it, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.